Welcome to Hindsight the Podcast, where bold stories and honest reflections meet real growth. I'm Lee Jones, your host, and every week I sit down with incredible people who turn life's turning points into powerful transformations. And if you're navigating change or chasing purpose, then you're in the right place.
When you look back in hindsight, everything is 2020. In hindsight, we make mistakes, we're learning from it. In hindsight, yesterday and your tomorrow. In hindsight, is so much clearer now.
Hey, welcome to Hindsight the Podcast. I'm your host, Lee Jones. And look, have you ever wondered what it really takes to turn a room full of different backgrounds, languages, and life stories into one united community? Well, today's guest, Matias Lemos-Castillo, founder of MLC Consulting, builds cultural bridges for a living, guiding companies and neighborhoods alike towards deeper inclusion and authentic dialogue. And in the next few minutes, we'll unpack his playbook for cross-cultural communication, organizational development, and the kind of leadership that makes everyone feel that they truly belong. So grab your notebook. This conversation could change the way you connect forever. Hello, I want to say good morning. What time is it? And where are you calling from?
Oh, it's good. It's definitely morning over here. It's 10 a.m.
Okay.
Madison, Wisconsin.
You're in
job, Lee, on the
Wisconsin.
name.
Okay.
Yeah. Where are you at? I didn't ask you that.
No, I'm in California, so I'm not too far.
Oh, beautiful.
I'm two time zones over, I believe. Yeah, 2 time zones over.
It's bright and early for you.
Yeah, just a little bit. You know, you try to get out. I'm from the East Coast, but what I learned when I moved over here to California is that everyone starts early as heck in the morning, right? They just get their days going. So I after a few years here, I've inherited that trait. So here we are today. And one, thank you so much for coming on Hindsight the Podcast and just sharing your story, sharing your wisdom. And I am looking forward to our conversation.
Thank you, Lee, and thank you to the listeners. I'm really excited for this conversation and for everybody that's tuning in. I do wish I was in California right now, though. That does sound a lot more fun. It's raining here in Madison. I don't know.
It's supposed to rain. Well, 30% chance. It's supposed to rain. I'm in SoCal too.
Oh, nice.
On Saturday. So you heard the songs. It never rains, even though it does rain. But I think like 1 month out of the year it may rain, and the other 11 months it's just hot and dry. So there you go.
You guys need the water too right now.
Oh, we need it. We need it every year, and we get a little bit of it. And anyway, we'll leave that alone. But for you, growing up in Uruguay and later moving to the U.S., what first sparked your passion for bringing desperate communities together?
Great question, Lee. Off the bat, let's go.
Yeah, I know. I'm going.
You're being serious about the California getting moving. Appreciate that question. For me, it was the fact that when we moved here to the United States, it was only 5 of us. My mom, my dad. I'm the oldest of 3. Me and my siblings, and we left behind, all of our cousins, all of our aunts, tios, grandma, grandparents, you name them, neighbors. So community has always been a big piece in my life. And when we moved here to Madison, Wisconsin, you could probably guess you don't see a lot of folks that are Latino. Diversity is growing. It's been growing. I gotta give it that. I'm thinking back of 2003 when we got here to the United States. There wasn't a lot of Latina folks. So for me, it was and my family, right? How do we find folks that were like us or shared culture, and finding that community again was really the big piece. And thankfully, I think we got really lucky here. There was a community center just down the street. I lived on the south side of Madison for the majority of my life. And that center was the hub for us that got us together, got us to connect with other people, and very quickly learn, okay, this is it. Now it's navigating Madison, Wisconsin, which for folks that haven't been here, I do encourage you to visit. It's a beautiful city. For me, as an insider, though, I still call it a town. When you think of a city, you think about like high rises, it takes you a little while to get from one side to the other. It's not the case here. Not to go at my own city or anything. It was more of you can get around pretty quickly, which is a beautiful part. You can get from one side to the other in probably 25 minutes. There's a good sense of community. And then what I've seen in the last 22 years living here is that we are growing. So there's more people, more BIPOC folks, restaurants. And with that growth, you've been able to create that sense of family and unity that I know was really important to us when we were back in Uruguay. And more and more you get to see, the different stories, the different perspectives, the different cultures. And I wanted to do work that aligned with that. How do we bring people together, and how do we encourage community and bring trust and leadership with it? So
yeah. I'll tell you two things. One, I know I did this in school, but since I'm plus 50 now, I do not remember what the definition of a city, a town, a township, all these different things, right? Because you look at it and just visualizing, you're like, this is not a city. This is like something else, right? A town or whatever. So one, I don't know that. So do you know the definition of what a city is? No.
Not
I
off
don't
the
know.
top of my head. I'll have to look at it. I would say we're like a hybrid. That moment where you go from town to city, we're right there, right in the middle.
Yeah.
I look at like Milwaukee, Chicago. Let's look around us, right? You got Minneapolis. Those are cities. And Madison's getting there.
And then two, I don't know exactly where Madison is, but I'm in the military, and I know the first time that I went to Wisconsin was in January.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll let that set in. Right? It was January. It was so freaking cold and windy.
The coldest month.
Yes. And I remember I said, well, I was in the barracks, and I said, I'll walk over to the gym because I didn't have a vehicle. Military don't give you all that stuff when you're that young. And anyway, so I started walking to the gym, and when I left out of my room, I said, oh shoot, I forgot my cap, to go over my ears and stuff. I said, but it's right down the street, probably like 2 blocks away. Oh, I turned around immediately. Like, it was too cold. It was too cold. And so that is my image. That is my thought of Wisconsin. What's the good part of it? What's the beauty? I know it's got greenery. Like, tell me a little bit about your town. What makes it so special? Why we should come to visit Madison, Wisconsin?
Oh man, you're putting me on the spot there, because you just said winter and cold. So how do you even manage that? Folks, I'll give you this. We have 2 seasons, winter and construction season. And sometimes the construction season falls into the winter, but there's a lot of beauty in Wisconsin. And I would say it's in the people, definitely the greenery. You can go any direction. 30 minutes, any direction from the city, you'll find a nice, beautiful national park. If you like to hike, you have that. There's lakes. If you like to be on the lakes, they're actually really clean, so you can engage with that. The food is growing. Honestly, there's a lot of, if you're into the big thing that Wisconsinites know are cheese curds.
I like cheese curds.
And for folks that don't know, just think of the word. It's just a little ball of cheese, gets deep fried, and
fried cheese.
You can get them, and you get that in a drive-through. So, like, why not?
Yeah.
Culver's is a staple here for Wisconsinite. But apart from that, I'll go back to the people. I think there's a lot of kindness. There's diversity. We have the University of Wisconsin-Madison here in the heart of downtown. That's been growing with the city, and I think that's really primarily where that growth is. And so many people from different backgrounds, cultures, international students even, are coming in and they're bringing their piece and they're putting their part, because there is a lot of opportunity for growth. So if you're looking for that spot where it's like, where can I do this next step for like growth, or even build community, I think Madison's there. I've been very blessed with the fact that you get to see people grow in here and people leave, and I've even left for a little while and came back just to see, okay, what changed, do your work, and it's being able to share those experiences in those rooms. So
I like it.
I'm very much in love with the people, and the growth is good. It's just the intentional growth that I try to align with, where it's like, how do we make sure folks that have been, there's an aging population here, and folks that have been establishing deep roots in the community, and it's really beautiful to see that history here, and how do we make sure they're not getting pushed out. It's a conversation that I oftentimes find myself having with individuals.
You said
especially BIPOC folks.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, especially people of color here. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Let me shut up and let you put that out there, because I tell you what, this person of color, at least I could only live there during the construction season, as you call it, right? It's just too cold. It's too cold. And I tell you another thing about me. My first duty station when I was in the Army was in Alaska.
Ooh.
And Wisconsin was worse. Wisconsin was worse in January.
Now you know, folks, don't come here during January. I think January and February.
No, you can go there. You can go there because it's still fine. It's just cold. You just got to come prepared for the weather, and that's all it is. It's a beautiful place, and I just play around, because when I first got there, though, I was immediately hit with the realization that I was not prepared for this cold. So, but other than that, it definitely is real. So, how old were you when you first got to Madison, Wisconsin?
Yeah, I was 7 years old.
Okay.
And I came, actually, funny enough, I also came in February. So it's even colder in February than January. March is not great. Yours just rain, but cold.
Yeah. The second time I did go, because I went twice. First time I went January 25th. See, that's how it's imprinted, because it was cold. The second time I went, it was like mid-February. And it was still really cold, but I was prepared for it. I knew what to expect. So anyway, we know it's cold. The other thing I want to say is, this is Hindsight Podcast. You got there when you were 7 years old. You talked about community. It was just the five of you, your parents and your two siblings. If you can think of a 7-year-old perspective, and if you need to climb up a few ages, then do that as well. But what was the biggest challenge besides finding people that look like you? And maybe, finding a community that resembled what you came from? Like, what was your biggest mental challenge during that time, if you can recall?
Funny, because immediately I knew, and it was the language barrier. In Uruguay, we only spoke Spanish. So growing up, it's always been, and I still speak Spanish, but it was being able to find people that spoke the same language comfortably as for my parents and myself. And that communication piece, right? I mean, I'm speaking English now, so eventually you learn it pretty quickly when you have to adapt. And I do remember, like, elementary school, middle school, that was a constant challenge, like being able to articulate and share, like, oh, this is what I'm trying to say to my professors or to my friends, right? It's always a challenge as an immigrant coming here. And I've also noticed that communication, though, it's the piece that is needed to build this community. So with the growth, my community has changed just because I've been able to communicate more effectively, and being able to lift people as I'm rising with it is really the big piece, because sometimes you don't know. Folks are just trying their best to communicate with the skills that they have, and just having that compassion, that empathy to be like, oh, what is this person trying to say to me? Am I fully listening to what they're saying?
Yeah. Do you recall, were they patient? Was it a helpful experience, or was it sort of how just, from a 7-year-old
Yeah,
mind, right? 8-year-old mind. How did it feel? Obviously, it felt scary to you,
definitely scary.
but
Yeah,
from the other perspective, from the other side, and looking back, this is Hindsight the Podcast. When you look back, were they kind of helpful? Because you speak to how the people are very nice there.
yeah,
It's good community. Yeah.
definitely lots of help. Well, there were the occasional, what are you saying,
Yeah.
type of folks, but I do remember like my teachers recognizing that I only spoke Spanish, and that was real. So I got put in the Spanish classes, or they gave me Spanish books, so I would continue my education in the sense that I was still practicing that Spanish. Because the other piece was, do you lose the language completely, or do you keep practicing as you're bringing in this other one? Eventually, I brought French in too. So like you keep my mindset was like, once you learn the second one, you're like, oh, the third one's easier. You just kind of keep
So is it
building
only is
upon
it
that.
only three? Is it only
Uh,
three that you speak, or you got like 16 languages you speak now?
I got I'm dabbling into Portuguese now, so but I won't
Uh,
say anything like it's very similar to Spanish and French right there, but English has been a curveball uh in the writing. But it was the teachers that had really helped me
mm,
growing up
yeah.
and thinking around like that second, third year here in the United States. It was like, okay, I'm getting the sense of it. I understood the words. Reading was getting easier, but it was then I'm like, okay, how do I develop that skill and grow into it? Because it was really, there were still moments where I was like, I don't know what they're saying, or you go watch a movie and it's like, oh, they're speaking too fast. Whenever you're going to a foreign film in a way, you're like, what are they saying? I felt that same
That's how
with
I
English.
that's how I felt, and believe me, I only know how to speak one language. Like, I haven't been able to be considered bilingual. I've taken German in high school. I know the numbers, I know the greetings, but that's it. I couldn't have a conversation with you. In Spanish, the first Spanish introduction, it's like, "Hey, welcome to Spanish," and then it just goes. And you talk about how you talk about how like English, like we speak fast, and it's relative, right? But I'm like, what are they saying? And I'm trying to catch a word here and there, right? Just get the context of what's going on in this conversation. And it's just been too fast. I haven't been able to slow it down. So I haven't given up. Haven't given up on learning a second language. But right now, it's just I haven't been victorious. I found a lot of ways not to get that second language. Now I just got to find that one way where I can master it. So here we go.
uh, I'll say, Lee, music is honestly one of the best ways to learn a language,
Mm.
controversially enough. But if you're just playing something in a different language, you kind of start picking up like, oh, they're saying that word again. They're saying that word. So for me, it was a lot of music growing up. And funny enough, I didn't, I like to share like, I was listening to a lot of the Eminem rapping style because they spoke really fast. And I was like, well,
Yeah.
if I can catch up to this speed, I can catch up to any speed then. And then eventually like, you dabble into other genres. But I would say for folks, Duolingo does help. not
Yeah.
to
Yeah. Yeah.
promote, not to promote the app, but listen to music
Yeah.
in a different language. You might actually find yourself you either hear something that is like, oh, is that word again? You can relate it to, I mean, English if you only know English, but if you know a second language, oh, does it mean that word in Spanish? And it works wonder. I
Wow.
think the brain is receptive to those different languages. You just gotta keep listening over and
I
over.
tell you, I tell you what, Matias, I I don't take advantage of the opportunities that are presented to me, and I'm gonna tell you why. It just gave me a good way, and obviously you're talking about being immersed in the music. I was just at a restaurant, Mexican restaurant, last night, as a matter of fact, and in the background they have these videos on the screen, and you can hear the music, so the music is blasting. But what was I focused on? I was focused on the one TV to the right of me that had the NBA playoffs on it. So I'm not taking advantage of the opportunities that I can immerse myself in all of these. Anyway, you got it. So So what do you do? You work with organizations, you work with companies, right, to kind of promote diversity and all that. Explain a little bit about what your mission is, what your mission is.
Yeah, love that question, Lee. For me, so I started MLC Consulting back in 2002. I'm in year 3. Folks, it does stand for my initials, Matias Lemos-Castillo. It does also stand for my 3 core values and the way that I approach the work, which is mobilizing, listening, and connecting. And the work that I do essentially with organizations, whether it's a nonprofit, government, private sectors, that community outreach, that trust building, and that developmental side within and outside the organization. As I mentioned with my story, a lot of it is really trying to find how do we mobilize people for a shared understanding, how, once you're mobilizing them, bringing them together, how are we engaging, how are we listening to each other, and how are we building those connections that are long lasting, that create impact. I've had the opportunity to sit in numerous conversations, Lee, not just here in Madison, Wisconsin, but nationally in about over 20 plus states, and have had a really great experience around, what is it to bring people together? What are the needs? What are the shared understanding? And how do we find that commonality in our humanity? So my value is really in that impact work. How do we bring, again, folks together? How do we have these tough conversations? And how do we use our voices to amplify those that are oftentimes not heard and to create that meaningful change? And 3 years has been going really well. Really been enjoying the work because, again, I've been strategic in the sense that I diversified. Folks oftentimes start off and they're like, I'm going to focus on the nonprofit sector solely. Nothing wrong, right? And I decided not just nonprofits, like how do we make this change also in government work, or folks in the city oftentimes, are not that trusted messenger. So how do we work with a consultant to find that trusted messenger to get out in the communities to do that impact? And even with private sectors too, right? Like, are you necessarily the one that can have those tough conversations internally, or do you need a fresh perspective? Oftentimes I say is that need for that facilitation, that fresh set of eyes, someone that's outside the internal work that allows for those deep conversations to really happen. And that's where my line of work really lines in, is you're really trying to change, do some impact work. I'm your guy.
Yeah. So you go into an organization with open eyes, or you have a conversation, and on paper, it's diverse. You look at the numbers, percentage Hispanic, Black, white, Asian, looks good on paper. But when you actually look at it siloed in practice, everyone's to themselves. Like, what early signals tell you where the real disconnects are? What do you look for?
Yeah, I looked for the culture and the experiences folks are having. Can you share something that's working really well? Right. I'll start with that. I like to take a positive inquiry approach at it, because then it flips the conversation from what's going wrong first, what's going on well. Kind of allows for also the breaking the ice moment. Then I move into the what's not working well. Right. Share your experience. Tell me whether it's in writing, in a conversation, it could be through an activity, right? We're putting sticky notes on a poster board, and then follow up with that third question. I like threes usually. Right? What would you like to see differently? And allow for that space to be held from individuals without, positions. Titles are one thing, but how do you step in as a human, as a person, and connect with their employees and dig deeper. I mean, it's great that you look great on numbers. The second piece is the retention piece that I usually look for. And how are you retaining your employees? Um, it is diversity, equity, inclusion for a lot of folks, which is a hot topic. And I've been doing that work for 10 years. So I've seen it go from, diversity and inclusion, inclusion and opportunity, diversity, equity, inclusion, right? You name it. Now it's a different one, opportunity and inclusion. So kind of strip away the words and lean more into the values. How do we lean into values that are feel like you can resonate with, values that are authentic to yourself, and you can bring your best foot forward? Because that's how organizations are able to keep their employees. And this is something that not just here in Madison, but nationally, I've been able to see and work with individuals. And that's the strategy, really, Lee. It's the coming in, how do we see what's working? How do we see what's not working? And then what do we see change? And how do we bring together people to have that conversation? Not just the heads, because oftentimes a lot of people are like, we're going to bring all the CEOs, the executives, the top level managers. It's like, no. You need a full spectrum. Everybody needs to have a stake on the table if you really want to be authentic. And some companies are cool with that, right? And some companies are like, nah, we don't want that. And then we just have that conversation. But I like to lean into the companies that want to do that, again, that intention on that impact work and really center people, because the future is really centering individuals and centering experiences. And there hasn't been a lot of that lately here in the United States. And if anything, we're taking steps back in a number of ways. So I like to say, well, maybe we're taking this 2 steps back to take 3 steps forward, or, again, like I mentioned, this field has been always in the limbo in a way, but it usually ends up coming up more positive with every wave.
Yeah, I just want to dig into it a little bit, and just as much as you feel comfortable. You mentioned how it's different initiatives, but basically it's the same concept, right? It's having an equal voice, some sort of equity in the workplace, and maybe even in society as well. So how do you feel about I guess it's no easy way to say it, but the assault on maybe the progress that has been happening over time in that space? With the removing it from government agencies and a lot of other schools and some big businesses are being pressured to remove all training and stuff like that. Like, how does that make you feel? Does that make you want to dig in and really focus hard on where we can solve this problem? Or like, how does it make you feel? Let's keep it simple.
Yeah, Lee. It makes me feel more curious. Funny thing, why is this happening? Why is the really what comes up to my mind is like, and where is it going? The other piece that I also remind myself in this moment is that it wasn't because the word, right, was created that the work started. It's actually the other way around. It's because the work was there that's needed to happen that created the word DEI or inclusion or whichever verb initiative you want to use. It's not because the word was created that the work's there, because more increasingly we're in a diverse world, and the need to be able to hold the different perspectives, the different people, the different experiences, right, is needed more and more now and in the future, because we have a future of, I don't know if you have kids, but babies that are going to be diverse and have very different experience. And I think the goal should be, how do we create somewhere or a space, organizations that welcome them with open arms and doesn't hurt them or cause more harm. So again, that's the why. Why is this happening? And my curiosity is like, how do we make this come out into a positive outcome?
Yeah, I got you. Hey, there it is. That's how I am speaking German. No, that's just I'm just playing.
What did I say?
You're definitely way ahead of me. Hey, but look, you go in. Leaders recognize a problem. They recognize that they have not individuals, they have groups and silos. A lot of times it's just because of comfort, because of language barriers. It's just because of community, culture. And so we naturally gravitate towards what's comfortable for us, right? And it's nothing ill intent about it. But sometimes it could be. And that's when you come in. And that's when leaders call you in. And often they want a quick fix, right? How do you convince them that genuine inclusion is a long-term investment rather than just a checkbox for a project?
Oh, Lee, love that question.
Yeah.
Like I had so many examples come up just because in this line of work, in a business, let me start this. You go and you buy a box of tissue, for example, right? I'm bringing a tissue box for the listeners, and that's what you're getting, right? You go, you give them money, and they're like, oh, okay, I got the tissues. DI is not exactly like that, or community engagement, that trust piece. I'm gonna leave it. Let me move away from the words and back to the values, right? Trust. It's not like you can pay someone and be like, give me the trust, like it's in a box and packaged together, and you can open it and you pull out trust, like a tissue box. It's building relationship. It's working with people, getting to know each other. That's the piece that really it's what I'm getting brought into, and the strategies on how you do that. And it's funny because it involves a lot of emotional intelligence. It involves a lot of how do you change the way that we communicate with each other, the way that you tell your stories, the way that you listen, right? And you don't do that overnight. You don't do that in a 1-hour session. You do that in a long term. You're looking months, and that will be if you're lucky enough, right? It depends on how much that relationship building, that much of that work already has been done, that then you can fill in the gaps. Sometimes there hasn't even been that relationship. It's very transactional, and it's moving away from that transactional. Maybe that's where that word income came in, or I still need more comedy, but moving away from that transactional piece to being more intentional. And how do you see the human? So I see that a lot in the work that sometimes I get brought in. It's not like a 1 or 2 times. It's like a 10 plus, right? Like people are thinking you can buy DEI like a subscription or a box of tissue again, and you're going to get the problem solved. But sometimes, and not all sometimes, oftentimes you need to do deep internal work, and it's messy. It's not easy. So you got to roll up your sleeve and work with people, work with each other, and create that trust. And find the trusted messengers, right? Because oftentimes it might not be me. So who do I bring in, or who do I work with to help me be that trusted messenger? So for folks that are thinking about this right now, I really encourage, who is that person that can help you build that trust through that transparent communication, through that storytelling, and through that adaptive leadership that's really needed right now. More than just words.
I like it. Now, you said you diversified yourself, right? So from national nonprofits to local grassroots efforts, like which engagement tactic consistently works across scales and why?
Storytelling. Lee.
I like that.
There's so much power in storytelling, right? Yeah. A lot of times when you hear something, you might be even hearing an opinion, something that influenced someone to think this way, right? When you ask them, hey, do you have an experience or a story you'd like to share? Immediately changes the conversation. And folks are like, actually, yeah, this happened. I had this moment in the hospital and this so-and-so, and I said this to me, or I'm very thankful for this experience or this program, and it changes the whole conversation. I really like to lean again into what are those personal experiences that we're all having, or we individually have had, and how do we amplify that over an opinion someone made. and just getting splurred out with no real factual evidence or experience behind it. And I say this from a point of I've been in conversation with people very different from me and having tough conversation. I like to say engage with the discomfort, right? And asking them, do you have an experience? Or like you said, something real wild. Do you have an experience that, I wouldn't say that first part, right? But between you and me, like, wow, you just said something that like, okay, threw me off, like shocked me. But you follow up with, do you have an experience that you can share or something that you witnessed? And I promise you, oftentimes folks are going to say, no, I saw it in the news or I heard it here. And they were an influence and they build an opinion. But if you ask, do you have an experience, and they actually tell you an experience, then you can lean in more and have that honest conversation and be like, wow, and hold that space for the individual, whether it's positive or negative. It's really powerful. That storytelling just goes a long way.
Man, I tell you what, that message right there can go in so many different lenses. Just one, being curious, two, ask the question, and three, listen to the response. It's magical right there. That can go on under a lot of lenses. I love when people talk about storytelling because we do it all the time. Maybe purposefully, but 9 times out of 10, I'm not even going to give a percentage, but a lot of times we don't. We're just telling stories. Hey, I watched the basketball game. It was amazing. Had a good ticket price and great seats. It's not purposeful. It's just, expressing a thought, expressing an experience, right? But some are more purposeful. Some are to articulate pain. Some are to just tell you a perspective, to fill in a blank for you that you're not seeing, right? And if we have those purposeful conversations, those storytelling exercises, then I think we'd be in a better space, because right now everyone's talking, across the country, and nobody's listening. So we've got our own national silos going on, and it's sad. It's sad. I remember a few years ago, meaning decades, at least we talked. I mean, you get a Republican president and that's your president. You get a Democratic president, you're mad about things, but you still got things to happen. And now it just doesn't. And it's sad because no one's curious. Everyone knows what they need to know, and they're standing on that position because they've been influenced, right? To your point, and they're not curious anymore. So anyway, I get off my high horse and soapbox or whatever.
Love it.
Yeah, that's where we're at. Hey, I told you I was in the military.
Yes.
And the military is a part of government, so DE&I has gone from the military as well. But many veterans, I know. So this is from the perspective of military members who are leaving the military and going into civilian. And many veterans, I believe, feel like outsiders when they trade the uniform for a cubicle, for an office, for, whatever. What advice would you give a service member on translating military team culture into civilian inclusive leadership skills?
Lee, not to sound repetitive, I think that story needs to be heard and shared. There's nothing wrong with the hero journey and expressing, this is what I'm going wrong, this is what's going on, and this is what happened. I mean, you think back countless wars where, individuals of colors have come back only to be, just back a part of a system that doesn't serve them. I think that story needs to be told more, and I would encourage folks to share that. Be loud about it. Talk about the inequities, because you witness an inequity in a different place, whether it was in a different country and your training, right? I think there's a lot of values that still hold really deep in our society. We're being influenced that they're not real. No way, right? One voice is saying, no, this is not important. And I think for military folks that are coming back and trading, and tell that story. Don't be afraid, because you've probably seen something a lot worse. And what do you want to come back for change? I think you're real. That's the real fighter for change. I would say I'm working for impact, social impact. You're working for real change, real impact, and we can rethink. So let's rethink the way that we say our stories. And I see you, if anything. I think more spaces are needed for folks that have fought for our country and just kind of get discarded. I don't think that's honorable from the country's perspective.
Oh, hey, you talk about. I'm just rapid firing, so
Let's go.
I appreciate you hanging in there with me. But you emphasize intentional engagement, right? What does that look like during a heated all hands meeting where tempers flare over cultural misunderstandings?
There's one size fit all strategy for that one. I think you really gotta read the room, read where people are at. Is it I like to rethink again. You always say that word. Folks we're gonna do this for an hour, and by 7 p.m. we need to be done. But sometimes we are we are so tied to our own construct that we don't see the people around us. And I like to pause. I'll be like, oh, I got heated. Hold on. Time out. You know how referees, you're talking about the NBA?
Mm-hmm.
Time out. All right, y'all. Or even in the theater, I used to do improv back in college, and
Oh, wow.
the director would tell you, let's take 5. Everybody, pause. We'll come back here. But I like to say, I think there's a lot of powers in timeouts. And okay, whoa, this is not going in a direction, it's not being productive, or people are screaming, people are disagreeing, which I've seen them just work, right? And a lot of time it's just that pause. Let's just pause. Let's take a moment, go get some water. Do you need to make a up? And the follow-up step is attending to the wound, right? Attending to whoever got hurt. Hey, are you doing okay? I know so-and-so said this, or so-and-so did that. And being human, I think we've been so desensitized in so many ways that we need to be right oftentimes that we forget who's in front of us. And I think the pause allows us to, again, come back. Maybe we're still heated, but solving it and being able to say, okay, this is actually going to take longer, naming it, and be solution-oriented. I think not an agenda-oriented, solution-oriented. What is it that the people need right now in the room? What is it that the organization, what is it that is needed to really bring people back together and build that connection? And the wonderful part about that is that that pause allows for folks to kind of reflect, hopefully. First and foremost, get the feelings, right? Let them out. Don't bottle them in. If you need to go walk, go for it. If you need to step out, come back. If you need to leave, that's fine too. I think that last piece of letting people leave, it's one that I've been kind of practicing for a while. But at first, when I was starting the work, like, no, you need to come back. And actually realizing if people need to leave, that's fine too. Let them. But the people that really want to make it work will be there and they'll come back. Be intentional with the time as a facilitator, right? You got to say, we'll be back in 7 minutes. We'll be back in 10. Come back. Whoever shows up, you continue from there. Would be solution. And don't tiptoe around it. I see I'll go back to like my parents, for example. Sometimes conflict resolution is avoidance. I've seen my parents avoid it and it works. But I think you need to lean into the other. There's 5 ways to solve a problem, and it's not always avoiding it. Let's name it. How do we collaborate? How do we find that common ground? And even if we disagree, right, just moving forward. And I think more and more of that conflict resolution piece is needed for folks that are interested in the next step. I would encourage you learning what are some skills, what are some ways to facilitate a conversation. And if things explode, I mean, it's not a bad thing, honestly. Might just be the needed thing. and reframing it as conflict being the needed thing to solve the issue, and mediate. I mean, sometimes it does get really heated, blows out of proportion. Hopefully not in those rooms. I don't ever wish that on anybody. If anything, I wish more of the how do we become solution oriented and creating that emotional intelligence within ourselves to be able to move forward. Because it's okay to have disagreement. We don't all have to agree, right? We can have different experiences, and two things can be true. And I also, again, like to your point earlier, Lee, how do we listen more?
Yeah.
And center that.
That's
It
the
helps
key.
a
Just
lot.
be open. Yeah, just be open to it.
And recently I just heard this from an old man in a talk, and I was really a professor. I shouldn't say an old man, but he's like 88 years old, and he said something so powerful, and I was like, wow, that's spot on. And I want to share it here too, because we're given 2 ears and 1 mouth, he said. So we should use that proportion more. Listen more.
Yeah, absolutely. 2 ears and 1 mouth. Yep. Hey, looking back, this is hindsight. Every time I allude to it, I'm going to say this is hindsight. What was the toughest decision that you made as a consultant that ultimately protected the integrity of a community? Have you ever? You said you hate to be in one of those situations in a room where it really explodes. This is another one of those situations where you really don't want to be in, but you may find yourself in. Like, can you recall an instance that that resonates with this question?
Yeah. It's not as a consultant. I name it. It's not always success, right? You're gonna also have the top of the mountain. You're gonna feel great, and sometimes you're gonna be at the bottom, and you're gonna be like, "Whoa, crap! This is not good the way it was supposed to." I think there's a power in resilience, and again, being that solution oriented. You think a plan is supposed to go this way, or it doesn't. Being okay with it, internalizing it, and getting back up and reshaping it. How do you rethink? Okay, this strategy doesn't work. What can work? What am I missing? Who do I need to engage? I'm constantly being reflective. So for me, a lot of the process is how do I build on previous experiences to ensure new, better experience. It's not always. I mentioned the cookie cutter because this work is not a lot of the same. We're gonna go in and do the strategy.
Yeah.
Go. We already have 19 workshop plan for y'all, and the DI is gonna get done. It's a way, it's a method, and it has worked in the past. I think my strategy is more on the how do we build and what's already been existing and what's needed, and fill in the gaps. And I do think about times where the strategy hasn't worked, and I lean into the DL and MLC Consulting, the listening. Okay, maybe I didn't listen well enough. Okay, let me listen more. Let me think again. And I think for me, my value is getting it, doing it right. And what does it take to do it right? Not be perfect, right? Focus on getting it right with folks and getting the work that's needed, and have those conversations. Things can always get negotiated. Things can always get, talked on. If the project takes longer, that's okay. Because this is people work. It's not a technology project where, you're looking at this. It's supposed to fit in this parameter. People work differently, and moving away from those mindsets of really structured, the cookie cutter, to more fluid.
Got you. Stephen A. Smith word. Hey, what's a Stephen A. Smith? I watch ESPN a lot, and he always says it's fluid. It's fluid, right? Hey,
It's fluid.
So yeah, it's fluid, man. It's a continual process. It's a mentality. It's a way of life. So, but for the listeners, what are some concrete first steps that we can take today, tomorrow, whatever, to begin creating truly inclusive spaces in our own circles?
Mm. I like what
I
I
think we
just what
touched.
the
I think we touched on it. One, be curious, and two, listen. I mean, those are two powerful things right there.
yeah, two big ones right there. I mean the listening, the 2 years, 1 mouth is on my I'm
Yeah.
on that trail wagon right now. Emotional intelligence, I'll say that one.
Mhm.
Let's invest
Okay.
time, whether it's a book, a podcast like this. There's a lot of resources. We live in a digital age that you can type in what's emotional intelligence, literally anywhere, and just read on it. Learn, spark that curiosity, right? I'll go back to that curiosity. Are you using it? We all have that. And what is it you need to learn? I mean, the beautiful part about the world right now is that there's so much that we can learn. Don't get overwhelmed by it. It can be overwhelming, but take it slowly, get it in your own time, and learn how to tell your story. I think the story aspect is the other piece, right? What is an experience that we all have unique experiences truly to ourselves, and how do we share that? And what are times where you have felt either a system not working for you, and what's that story, or something not working, and where is there? Also think on the flip side. Don't always focus. That's why I say the positive inquiry approach. Start with the positive. What has been working? So then you can contrast it with what's not been working. So then you can be like, this is what I want to change. Think about it that way.
Yeah. Great insight. Great insight. Hey, is there anything that we missed? Is there a story or an insight that we haven't touched on that you believe listeners must hear right now from you?
Oh,
Put you on the spot.
listeners, put me on the spot on that one for sure.
Yeah.
Make new friends. I've been doing this new thing this year. So last year, my New Year's resolution, it's funny enough, I kind of stuck around, was to do one new thing every day. Whether it was to I don't know. I'm looking at my desk right here. I like the color, the black pen, but I was like, I
Okay.
always use a black pen. Now I have 22 different colors sitting in my desk, and because one of the things I did was let me just try a different color pen and write in different, or I tried a different book, different podcasts.
Yeah.
And this year, one of the new things was sit in different conversation. What is something I don't know, or go to an event. And funny enough, the professor that I just mentioned that said the 2 years, 1 mouth, there was a moment where I was like, oh, I saw this Earth Day event just popped up, and my curiosity peaked, and I was like, oh, let me go sit in an Earth Day conversation by the EW professor. And I got so much value out of it. Yeah. And I'll just say that, do something new every day. You don't even know where life might take you, or what you might learn or experience, even if it sucks. That's still something new. I've done so many things that are like, nah, I'm not doing that again. But it was the fact that I did it that helped me grow and helped me be able to be like, and I got a good story about it now. I can tell my friends, like, hey, I went to this Earth Day event and it was fun, or I tried this new podcast, met this guy named Lee, and
there he is.
Had a good time.
There he is. I like it. Hey, I heard some advice one time. Well, not really advice, but it's sort of what you were talking about just then. And, kind of mix things up, do something different. And one of the things that they recommended was don't drive the same route that you go. Like if you go back and forth to work, don't go the same route. We got GPS technology right now that's on your phones or in your cars, wherever you're at with that. And just drive another way, take a different route, and you may find something like, oh, I didn't know this was here all this time, right? And that's the same thing you can do in life, to your point, just do something new every day. You don't know where it's going to take you. All right.
Like curiosity.
I guess that resonated.
Right? I love it. I did that once too, and I found a new restaurant. So funny enough, because it's a small town, so there's only 3 ways to get to my house, maybe 2. But doing a circle, I was like, oh, I didn't know that was there, and
Isn't that
That was
crazy?
my new favorite restaurant or coffee shop. So that's a cool one. I like that one. I mean, definitely the new route. I heard
Yeah,
that
yeah,
too,
yeah.
Lee, and it's like, oh, to the listeners, try it. Honestly, like it sparks wonders. And I love to hear in the comments or anything, reach out. What's something that you tried and what was the outcome? You might actually have a great story to tell your friends next time. I'll tell you that. I had a
Yeah.
bunch last year.
I like it. Hey, this has been a really good conversation. I appreciate you coming on to Hindsight the Podcast. And where can the people, the listeners, follow your work, dive deeper into your resources, or engage MLC Consulting for guidance?
Yeah, I've been really active on LinkedIn right now, Lee. So
Okay.
definitely give a follow. My website's there, consultantmlc.com. Those are pretty much where I'm at right now. But I like to be in purple. So if you see me around, I like to move around a lot. So being in community, be with people, being in music, I think it helps.
I
So
like that.
follow me on
I like
LinkedIn
that
though. That's the
idea.
easiest way.
Okay. I like the music idea. I never even thought about it. I know people always say, well, watch foreign films or, whichever one. And I do it and it works. I mean, you can kind of just by looking and seeing what's happening and kind of figure out, some of the dialogue. You're going to catch some words here and there. But I never thought about music. And
Oh
I've
yeah.
heard it before. I've heard it before. But for some reason it resonated right now. Probably because you said it right after I went to this restaurant last night where the music videos were playing and I paid absolutely no attention to it. So so that's probably where it connected. But once again, thank you for coming on Hindsight the Podcast. Um, Today, to the listeners, we explored the art and science of inclusion from Matias's early cross-cultural lessons in Uruguay. Even though we didn't really touch on that, we just touched on there's a
Oh,
little
that's
bit of
true.
a difference here, right? We learn how intentional engagement, courageous leadership, and measurable goals can transform diversity from a buzzword into lived reality. And Matias say the Lemos.
Matias Lemos-Castillo.
So I did get Limos right. All right.
Yeah,
Castillo,
you got it.
thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. Because you told me earlier when I said it earlier, you was like, at least I got that one right. I don't know why I was nervous about getting that one right. I already got it right. But thank you for sharing your wisdom and your heart with us. And for the listeners, if this conversation sparked an idea or challenged an assumption, make sure you subscribe to Hindsight the Podcast on YouTube, Spotify, or your favorite app, and that includes Apple Podcasts. And share this episode with someone striving to be more. And until next time, keep looking back so that you can leap forward. I'll talk to you next time. Hey, thanks for joining me here on Hindsight the Podcast. I'm your host, Lee Jones. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I know I did. And while I have you here, why don't you take your mouse, go over and click on that subscribe button. No, not right there. Over to the right. No, down, right there. Boom. Thank you. Now, thank you for subscribing to Hindsight the Podcast. I'm your host, Lee Jones.